But we still have to answer an important question. So I'm going to take you back in time, 1400 years, to the city of Medina, Saudi Arabia, to a time when Prophet Muhammad was given the task of finding a solution to women in the city being attacked and molested. The situation was this. It was around the year 600 AD, long before the modern convenience of plumbing. And when a woman awoke in the middle of the night with the urge to relieve herself, she would have to walk out past the outskirts of the city and into the wild by herself for privacy. Believe it or not, a group of men actually began to see an opportunity in women's nightly treks and started to linger at the outskirts of the city, their identities hidden in the dark, watching. If a woman walked by and she happened to be wearing a jilbab, which was a garment like a coat, the men knew to leave her alone. A jilbab of centuries ago was a status symbol, like a Burberry trench or a Chanel jacket. It announced that the woman was free, and a free woman was protected by her clan. She would have no problem speaking out against the attacker and identifying him. But if the woman walking out at night wasn't wearing a jilbab, if she happened to be dressed a bit more freely, then the men knew she was a slave, and they attacked her. Concerned members of the community brought the situation to the Prophet, and like so many other social, political, and familial issues that Muhammad faced during his prophethood, he turned this particular matter over to God. And a verse was revealed for the Quran, the Muslim holy book. "O Prophet," it reads, "tell your wives, your daughters, and the women of the believers to draw upon themselves their garments. This is better, so that they not be known and molested." Basically, the verse advises that all women dress similarly, so that they can't be picked out from one another, zeroed in on, and attacked. Now, on the surface, this may seem like a relatively easy solution to the problem, but it turns out it wasn't. The early Muslim community was tribal and so deeply entrenched in social status, and the idea that a slave would look like a free woman, it was almost insulting. And then there was the matter of practicality. How would a slave do her work? How would she function if her body was constricted by a coat? How would she cook, clean, fetch water? In the end, the early Muslim scholars ruled that a woman's way of dress should be based on two considerations: a woman's function in society, her role, what we might consider her job, and the society's specific customs. Or, in another way, when in Rome. Now, Muslims like to take historical rulings and apply them to the modern era. So let's do that. A woman's way of dress should be based on custom and function. So what does that mean for a Muslim woman living in America today? For someone like me? First, it means that I have a function, a role in society, a contribution that I can make. Second, it means that while I'm making that contribution and living in a society where veiling is not the custom, and where in fact if I veil it might actually lead to harassment, then wearing what is the custom, such as a dress, a pair of jeans, or even yoga pants, is not only acceptable, it's recommended. But wait, could that be right? After all, haven't we all come to assume that a Muslim woman must veil? That veiling is a requirement of her faith. There's even a term that we've all come to associate with the Muslim woman's veil, an Arabic term that we've all heard used whether or not we've been aware of it. Hijab. So maybe I missed it. Maybe the requirement that a woman veil is in a different part of the Quran. For those of you who don't know, the Quran consists of 114 chapters. Each chapter is written out in verses, like poetry. There are more than 6,000 verses in the Quran. Of the 6,000 plus verses, 3 refer to how a woman should dress. The first is the verse I've already told you about. The second is a verse that directly speaks to the prophet's wives, asking that they begin to dress a bit more modestly because of their role, their function in society as his wives. And the third verse is similar to the first in that it was revealed in direct response to a historical situation. Early records show that the custom, the fashion during the pre-Islamic era was for women to wear a scarf on the head called a khimar, which would be tucked behind the ears and allowed to flow behind the back. In the front, a woman wore a tight vest or a bodice, which she left open, exposing her breasts, sort of like the images you see in Game of Thrones. When Islam spread through the Arabian Peninsula, a verse was sent down asking that women use this scarf or any other garment to cover the breasts. And that's it. That's basically all there is in the Quran concerning how a woman should dress. Turns out, God doesn't give a bullet point of all the parts on a woman's body that he wants hidden from view. And in fact, it might be argued, and it is argued. I cannot stress enough that it is argued by many Muslim scholars that the reason these verses were left intentionally vague is so that a woman could choose for herself how to dress according to her specific culture and the progression of time. And that term hijab, guess what? It's not in any of these 3 verses. In fact, it's nowhere in the Quran directly meaning a woman's veil. That's not to say that the word doesn't appear in the Quran, because it does appear. But when it appears, it's actually used correctly to mean a barrier or a divide, such as the barrier or divide that exists between us humans and the divine, or between believers and non-believers, or it means a barrier like a physical screen that men during Muhammad's time were asked to stand behind when speaking to his wives, or it means the seclusion, the separation that Mary sought when she was giving birth to Jesus. That separation and seclusion, that means hijab. That physical screen, that means hijab. That barrier, that divide, that means hijab. Hijab doesn't mean a woman's veil. And yet, isn't it strange that what the term actually means, being screened off, divided away, barred, separated out, these are the very terms that come to our minds when we think of a Muslim woman? Why shouldn't they? We have all seen the way some Muslim women are treated around the world. If she attempts to go to school, she's shot in the head. If she attempts to drive a car, she's jailed. If she attempts to take part in the political uprisings happening in her own country, to be heard, to be counted, she's publicly assaulted. Forget about hiding out in the dark at the outskirts of a city. Some men now feel comfortable enough to assault a woman on the sidewalk for the world to see. And they don't care to hide their identities. They're more interested in making international headlines. They're too busy making videos and uploading them onto YouTube, bragging about what they've done. Why don't they care to hide their crimes? They don't feel like they've committed any crimes. It's the women who've committed the crimes. It's the women who got these funny ideas in their heads, ideas that actually
Peace, East Stars, peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. I'm grateful you decided to join. Blissful 9/11. I've been waiting to have this telecast for over a week. I wanted you to hear the beautiful voices of our wonderful Sisters of the Sand as they remarked their honor of the divine in prayer. Also, I wanted you to hear a wonderful sister talking about the hijab, and also the history of why women are veiled, are choosing to stay veiled in most parts of the Muslim country. This is a very beautiful time on this planet, and there has been a lot of false propaganda and also religions that were based and created from the mother, basically tainted and depleted and depreciated in the same dishonor of the mother. So we'll get into that. I also wanted to add into, hold on one second. Hold on. This is crazy. Okay. I wanted to start off with a beautiful spirit and genre from this time. Big up to all those. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Check on it. Blissful 9/11. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Sisters, fathers who've lost their children, their families, due to the occurrence of 9/11. صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أن تؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتب This will be one of the realest conversations we have. والبعث بعد الموت والقدر خيره وشره من الله تعالى. Grandmothers and children who lost their lives. وأن تشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله وتقيم الصلاة بوضوء كامل لوقتها وتؤتي الزكاة وتصوم رمضان وتحج البيت إن كان لك مال. I love that. I hope you felt the vibration. Like I said, peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. Peace to the mothers of the east who have lost their children based on the occurrences that not only occurred on 9/11, but the reverberation of the lies and misnomers that led to many deaths in the Middle East. I am very sorry for all of the heartache and blood shed due to a invocation that was dedicated to the onslaught of a bloodline that would later lead to what is occurring now. So in adversity, we always say adversity is a gift, and we appreciate the hardships and the adversity for provoking us, invoking us, and being the catalyst for the necessary steps to allow for us to make decisions for our highest and greatest good. So, assalamu alaikum to our Islam family. Peace, shalom to all those coming in the house. Bonjour for all those who are coming in the house. Salut, ça passe. Bon dia for those coming in the house. Buenos dias for those coming in the house. Now, this conversation we will get into today was basically to discuss the beautiful Kaaba, the black cube, the dark womb that is located in Mecca in Saudi Arabia, that many take maybe even a lifetime to plan for their pilgrimage, to give honor to the dark mother, to the dark womb. Though the creation has been hidden, the worship is quite in placement, in proper place. I'm going to get into the reality of what the dark womb, the cube, the Kaaba represents, why it is necessary for us at this time on this planet during a beautiful and a monumental shift need to realize the truth in order to make decisions that will place us in higher realms of consciousness and also make decisions that would initiate us into higher realms and frequencies. I have a message that was given to me days ago, within the last, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, actually before I planned to discuss the Kaaba. And big up to our sea sun star, who is actually a beautiful representation of the reincarnation of a divine goddess that has come back to also initiate forms of awakening within us. So I'll play her light language during this at the time. So Saturn is coming back on the 18th. As you know, a portal is opened on the 9th. As you know, this is a monumental day that actually was the mark of the descent of a stoic, abusive patriarchy that has to lay down its swords in order to allow the Divine Mother to come back into her righteous position. So what I'll do is discuss the Kaaba, and also we will get into the actual energies allowing for us to initiate this invocation and a declaration of either those taking a stand down to allow for us to sit in our rightful position, or this will be an invocation of war. If you have come against the divine and the dark mother, and you have sat while she's been suppressed, abused, disregarded, this will be probably an invocation of war for those spiritually that are against that awakening, that positioning, that coming back into our righteous state of being. Okay, so let's get into the Kaaba. It's so dramatic, right? The beautiful Kaaba. Now, for many of you don't know, if you've studied, many of our Muslim family know. Big up to our Islam family in the house. Again, I wanted to send out much empathy and sympathy to those who have been affected by the Dark Cabal's agenda to defecate on a particular bloodline that would initiate acts of war against the innocent. The Kaaba is a beautiful, beautiful cube located again in Saudi Arabia, and again, many plan all their lives to be able to take the pilgrimage, to be able to stand in front and pray in front of the Kaaba, the beautiful Kaaba. Now, the Kaaba is a cube, but what's very interesting is what's inside of the cube. The cube holds a beautiful black stone, a black crystal, that is denoted to be from the outer world, outer space, a asteroid, a piece of remnants from the stars that is placed intricately inside of the safety of a beautiful dark magical, mystical cube in order to protect the energies. Now, within the cube, it's denoted that this beautiful, masterful element, this crystal, has the ability to not only shift one's consciousness, but to allow you to have a mental passport to be able to go past time and space. The dark crystal core. Very good. You're reading my mind. That dark crystal also allows for zero the gravitational pull within the close proximity of the dark crystal is very, very notable. There's a gravitational shift because of the cosmic nature of this black stone. Now, what's interesting is I actually know the cosmic connection to why they are surrounding the cube. That stone wasn't a fallen stone. It was sent as a magnet to be able to keep a certain vibration so that when the actual people or beings who sent that gift to this planet, to this Mother Earth, to this beautiful Terra, that it would always be protected until the rightful owner returns. That stone was sent by cosmonauts far, far away, female cosmonauts. The stone was meant as a magnet for men to worship, to remember their mothers, to lay on their knees and pray in honor and forgiveness of the divine black cosmic mother. The cube represents the womb, the dark womb. What's inside is clearly that of the remnants of a time and a energy that was necessary to keep here while the cosmonauts left the planet in order to allow the planet to go through her shift. When they left that beautiful black stone, that carbon stone, that stone of a remnants of a time that they coexisted here, it was meant to be worshipped. It was meant to be protected. Now, what's interesting is the Centaurians are the reason why we have the cube around that stone. The stone in itself, even under the protection or actually the muting, because what the cube is doing, it's muting the energies of that black stone, because the stone is meant to attract males for worship. Is my voice low? Do you guys not hear me? Hold on. Do you guys not hear me? Hold on. Is everyone hearing me? Put a 13 if you hear me, and please put a like if you come in the video. Please put a like. Is it low? It's low? It's interesting. Okay, hold on. Is it better? Did I put it a little higher? Can you hear me now? You can hear clear? Okay. Some people get low, some people 13. Okay. Okay. No, it's not low? Okay. All right. Just making sure. Okay. So, as many of you may or may not know, the worship of the cube is meant to be, and it would be greater, and to a stronger degree, it wouldn't just attract certain males of a certain DNA, it would attract more males if that beautiful crystal was allowed to just be without being controlled, so to speak. What the men are doing is they're worshiping the divine dark goddess, the mother who left remnants of herself as a reminder to the males that though her presence isn't there physically, that that stone is a reminder of her and the return of the matriarchy, of the mother. It's interesting in countries where men from a certain arena, a mindset, a consciousness that are so beautiful in their ability to stringently eat properly and follow rules and regulations created by Islam to, uphold a certain frequency. Men who are very well designed in order to pray 5 times a day. Men who choose to be stringent in some of their practices and their interactions with their fellow brothers. The same men who uphold such beautiful, amazing self-restraint and such conviction are the very same men that are dishonoring of the mother. The very same men that have taken that love, that loving dedication that was designated as a reminder of the divine black womb, that they go and they worship and they think about and they take it upon themselves to make it a plan of their life before they die to even visit the dark womb. It's very interesting that those same men in that region are defiling the mother, defiling their sisters, defiling and controlling and abusing their daughters. The same men who have such beauty in the invocation of what they created are utilizing it as a way to defile the divine. This message is for the beautiful sisters of the sand. It isn't limited to them, but because you're kicking off the awakening of the divine, I thought it notable that we speak to you first. I don't know if I should give the message first, but it's interesting that the same men that do this trek will be affected by that stone. The stone doesn't just attract you, my beautiful males or my beautiful Islam brothers. It is meant for you to be in respect of honor. And what's interesting, that there's a dual consequence to worshiping and being out of alignment of this dark womb, this beautiful cosmic, with the cosmic mother's remnants. If males aren't in the frequency at this time, and 9/11 wasn't a remark of just a time, it was a reminder that this particular day, the day before actually the Hebrew calendar, the Ethiopian calendar hits 2012, it was the day before that you as the male sect that were meant to protect, honor, worship, and make sure that there wasn't any form of abuses to your divine mother. There's a consequence to those who are out of alignment. If you, my brothers, sit and worship the cosmic mother in the same stroke as you are harming, defiling, and abusing and killing her, there will be a physical consequence. The beauty of this beautiful dark crystal that is located in the beautiful womb, the dark womb, the cosmic womb that was created in order to mute the energies to disallow for all males to be infected with this wonderful mesmerizing feeling, this invocation, a calling that would call all males on the planet to come and worship the dark womb. That's what the cube does. It mutes it to a certain degree. You in the same breath will be swiped with the same poison as that which you've given to your mothers, your sisters, and your female clan. That crystal has another effect to men who are out of balance. On this day, the United Snakes of America, along with a few other imbalanced patriarchal sects, remarked the day as a warning. The warning was to wage war on something bigger than just the Islamic countries. There was something that many people didn't know was an undertone, it was a secret. It would remark the day before the change, where the sickness, the infection would occur to those who are out of balance. That beautiful black stone will, in fact, create a sickness in those males who are dishonoring of their mother, or dishonoring of the black womb, dishonoring of the remembrance of what they truly are and how in service to the divine state of being they were supposed to be. So for all the males who made that trek to Mecca, beautiful trek, and prayed to Allah, beautiful Allah, and worshiped in front of the divine womb, if you are a father, a brother, a son, who has been out of alignment and has allowed for the abuses of your sisters, your mothers, your daughters, it has a two-par. You will pay this day and forward for the crimes against woman. So it's interesting that you make the trek to go to Mecca and you pray so beautifully, so divinely. But you go home and you watch your daughters who are veiled because of the indiscretions of men, not women, men. And you disallow for her to show herself or to be free to study and be something that she dreams of, to allow for her to have commune with other wonderful sisters and brothers like herself in her same age, because you are imbalanced. You have been conditioned and controlled and taught to suppress her. And if she is out of alignment of your suppression, and if she is non-obedient, you will go so far for the honor of other men to murder her. There's a consequence for that. There's a cosmic consequence to that. If you look on the dark hue, the Kaaba, Ka, you can see the opening of the lingam, the opening into the dark womb. And it is a reminder of who and what we are. We give birth to beings from many different worlds. And to dishonor that, to control it, and to abuse it is a crime against humanity. And there is a consequence. And today on 9/11, you are getting that warning, but rather you're just getting the horn before you pay. So let me read the actual message that I had gotten for our sisters. The great sisters of the sea, as above, so below, have reunited. Time is futile. Restoration of the matriarchal queendom is underway. Clearing and reactivation of our primordial grid. Reawakening of the dormant lineage of the East, Southern, Stonehenge. Land animals are forbidden for consumption. One may drink from love from the mother's milk, but zero from her flesh. Frequencies will awaken to the entire sisterhood and free those under the spell. Fear not as it isn't in our custom to fear. We are the progenitors of life, the original ex-woman. It is our sisters. For some woman, we are united blood running through her veins and throughout her lands. Those who oppose have already lost. Sorry, hold on. I wrote this message in parts. Sorry about that. I have notes around that. Once I got the message, I wrote notes around it. I apologize for that. Oh, let's see what Terry says. Terry says people need to get off of the worship of the masculinity and famine and either far right. I agree, Terry. The worship of anything too extreme is imbalanced. And this message is not to state that woman is the end-all be-all. Obviously, we fell from grace because of our own deeds in previous existence. Remember, this planet was a female planet. It was. It wasn't a planet that had males. When males came is when we started to learn aspects of ourselves. They were basically a shadow of ourselves. But when we were out of balance is when we fell. So being extreme in being too extreme in either side is imbalance. We're going to unity consciousness. That's all it is. Unity consciousness is both the female and male in 0 point, basically. It's going back to our original state of being balanced within the two. We both hold both. We have masculine and feminine within one. Remember, we were also, it wasn't just women that were here. When I say women, we were, I would say androgynous because they were hermaphroditic. So if you understand what hermaphroditic is, it is a combination of males and females. Eve wasn't taken from Adam. It was Adam who was taken from her DNA and created. That's all that is. But he was part of her. That's why it isn't righteous to hate males. But yes, unisex, absolutely, Terry, unisex. But it isn't righteous to hate males or females. But there is an imbalance on this planet, is why the cosmonauts have returned. The cosmonauts have returned because they left during the last cycle and they are returning back to their home planet. That is the female sect that lived and existed in the queendom. Balance will be returned. There is a consequence for those living, Lilith, yes, Lilith. There is a consequence for living out of balance, living outside of yourself, living in a way that disregards others and disallows those who are living in balance and ostracizing them and criticizing them and basically suppressing them. Why I speak of the Kaaba and why I speak of our Islam family, because that's where it kicks off. We're at war. The war is occurring because of the suppression of the feminine. We will go back into unity consciousness. There are many amazing balanced males, but the amount of balanced males doesn't outnumber the imbalanced males that are programmed as a sleeper cell to attack, degrade, and basically suppress the feminine. So why there is an extreme reaction to this time in a way that it seems like women are taking back their power is because they haven't had home court advantage for some time. And in order to create balance within the male and female, the women have to go back into their natural state of being. And because of the suppression of the patriarchy, the sixth patriarchy, we're not talking about, when I speak of the patriarchy, I'm not talking about the general male. I'm talking about a system of dominance that comes from an unnatural being that has utilized the positioning of females going through their evolution of learning how to see themselves in a more balanced way. This is a spiritual growth. We experience spiritual growth on this planet. Everything you experience is what you choose in order to see from a different perspective, but it is imbalanced. When you have an entire planet that is in promotion of child abuse, forms of misogyny, murdering women, child trafficking, we're out of balance. The war being waged is against the patriarchy. It isn't against the general healthy male. The males that are actually sitting well and in balance actually are being abused themselves. They are being abused by the brethren that they are standing beside. They are disallowed from actually expressing themselves in a very healthy way, because they're being, anytime they express a consideration of women, anytime they're protective of women, anytime they're protective of children, they're usually disregarded, they're laughed at, they're chastised, and they usually have to isolate because of that. So I'm not speaking to, we're not speaking to the divine male who's also been under the foot of a sick, egregious, non-human being that has been created in order to suppress the feminine. We're talking about a being that isn't even quite, was created for basically suppression. Okay. So, the message also for the amazing sea stars on the planet is that there is a dietary requirement in order for you to basically awaken to your purpose. It's interesting that they gave a dietary preference, which I thought was interesting. It isn't out of order, but it's the first time I've ever heard it in this way. I've known that we aren't to eat certain things, and we're not to partake in certain consumption of certain things. But it's interesting that they actually gave. So it makes me think that something's going on. And also with the promotion of this Popeye's chicken, nano chicken, and also with the promotion of the nano KFC. They're promoting things to get people sick. So it's interesting. I will give you the requirements required to stay in alignment, my sea stars and sun stars. Okay. So it's saying it's forbade. Land animals are forbade for consumption. One may drink from the love of the mother. Interesting. They allow you to drink milk. It's interesting in Vedic practices in India. They drink dairy, but they aren't allowed to eat the cow. And 0 of her flesh. So they're giving you a requirement. Eggs are forbidden. So what I'm seeing when I've gotten this message is that they are disallowing us to consume things that are from the female. They want us to stay in alignment to honor the female on this planet. So also, if you know the connection to the Kaaba, is that the Kaaba itself wasn't necessarily created, it predates Islam as far as creation. It was secretly known to be part of the Indian sect because they liken the Kaaba to actually being, Shiva. They're saying it's related to Shiva. And if you know the concept of the Indian or Hindu culture, they worship the cow. They consider the cow to be a goddess. And also, but they do consume her milk. So it's interesting that they're saying for us to stay clear of land animals. So what I took is that we aren't allowed to partake in any flesh of land. Could be they're poisoning the land animals. I took it as that when I got the message that chicken, cows, even ducks. What else do you guys eat? Goat. What else is a land animal? What else is eaten? Is it goat? Goat, beef, that's cow, chicken, duck, turkey, what other? Boar, deer. Thank you, Joko Moko. Deer, lamb, pig. Okay, pig. Okay, those are the land animals. I'm assuming deer. They're saying all land animals. Now, I didn't ask for more specified detail of that. I took it as just land animals, anything living on the land. Eggs are forbidden. Now, it says, no, when it says you may drink from the love of the mother. Now, I don't know if that means, this is when we have to do our own investigation. We're allowed to drink from the mother's milk, but I'm not sure that they mean cow. Could they mean breast milk? I take that as, what kind of milk does that mean? The love of the mother's milk. If I'm taking from something that disallows for me to doing it and I don't have permission to take her milk, I would take that as either only breast milk, meaning that maybe only for the babies they're allowed to drink from the mother's love, because it says you may drink love from the mother's milk. I'm taking that you may drink from basically breast milk, okay, or the mother's milk. It could be what comes from Mother Earth. I haven't. It could be water. It could be water. It's interesting that they said that. The sea is divine and consumption solely. So they do say you can eat from the sea. Now, I don't think they mean that you can consume farmed salmon, things that are being taken care of by man. But I personally think that's it. Listen, as far as a bison, this is something that was given as a message. I don't give messages about eating or nutrition. It hasn't ever happened that way. Normally, when I get a message, I don't channel. Remember, family, I'm not a channeler. When things come to me, they come person to person, physically or telepathically. There isn't any channeling. I'm not pulling in beings. Fleur Bruin is pretty casual in that way. I'm very normal in the way that I do things. But it's interesting that one of the things they're telling us and warning us on this day, and I wasn't allowed to give you this message until this day, was that land animals were forbidden, eggs are forbidden, and only milk from the love of a mother. And I'm only assuming that the love of a mother has to be a milk from either a woman feeding her child, or it could mean water. Also, frequencies will awaken the entire sisterhood. Okay, so they were also denoting that frequencies will awaken the entire sisterhood. One thing that I denoted is that, so Sid said we're eating air today. Well, Fleur Bruin is back to eating her cherries. I got my cherries today and I was happy. Look, this is also, I have my cherries. This is how I keep my cherries. So when I eat them, then I drink the water afterwards. I love this. I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's a warning. I have a feeling that we're getting warned that they're about to do something. I think there's going to be a balancing. Remember, karma is coming back. So I have a feeling that the reason why we're getting these messages, and also a lot of our sea stars were getting codes, a lot of binary codes and coding. Literally, they're saying the frequencies will awaken the sisterhood. I haven't in my life ever heard so many women standing their ground, standing in their power. For the first time, I've seen our beautiful sisters choosing from a placement of their inner worth rather than in choosing from a more shallow position. It hasn't been a time, and I'm talking about some of our sisters that are coming from not maybe more so the matrix. I'm hearing just in conversations when I'm walking around a connection to their inner world, more so than I ever have. Also, women are being called to abstain from sex for some reason. I had a conversation with not only a few of my personal friends, but people who were stating that physically they aren't having the necessity to engage sexually any longer for the last week. This to me is probably a catalyst. It's almost we're being muted perhaps in order to undergo the shift. Literally, we are placed in a position we will stand in our sense of divinity in a way, because if we're perpetually horny, I'm keeping real. If we're perpetually always wanting sex, because women have a healthy woman has the need to have sex. I think a lot of men who aren't aware of women have higher sexual drives than men most times if they're healthy, most times. But what's happening now is there is a lot of feeling within us that is disallowing us to have that feeling anymore. That the way that we normally feel the need and necessity to be with a man is actually pulling back naturally. So we are being basically triggered to keep ourselves from mating with any males at this time. It makes me think that there is going to be a line drawn in the sand, and we will literally, absolutely, Terry. I think it's also to boost the frequency, because when you're having sex with beings that are out of alignment, they lower your frequency. So I think that's also what it is. But it's interesting. I know some of the most beautiful, sexually, healthy women, and every single one is feeling a lack of that need to mate, to partner, to have sex, which is weird. It's very strange. So it makes me think that we are actually being triggered to hold back and make sure that we're holding that energy for ourselves. So I say, sisters, just listen to your frequencies, what's invoking you now. Alcohol also is also something that is probably, you're still horny, but you're not having sex. Goals and mommy. Well, maybe you don't need, because you're not having it, maybe you don't have to stop feeling it. Maybe maybe because you don't need it. Maybe because you're not having it, you're not getting invoked not to do it. So let me hold on a second. I wanted to give you, hold on, there was something else I was supposed to share. I have to share a lot with you, so if I'm all over the place, I'm trying to stay focused. Hold on, let me eat a cherry. There's so much more I have to share with you, but hold on. Okay, here it goes. It's the Kaaba. Now, this is what's interesting, family. There's a couple of things that are going to happen with the Kaaba. The Kaaba now will change frequencies. It was attracting males to the Kaaba. So any male who's visited the Kaaba, worships the Kaaba, has plans to go to the Kaaba, or is being invoked to have a connection to the Kaaba, he is actually the frequency of the black stone is changing. It is now going to deliver a different frequency. Before, it was attracting the males, and it keeps them connected to that divine cosmic mother. What it's doing now, starting today, was the change. That's why 9/11 was a warning to the dark cabal. It had actually little to do with us. It was a warning to the other ones to stay the heck out of the way of anywhere near the Kaaba. The Kaaba stone, the beautiful cosmic carbon stone inside of the Kaaba, now will shift. It will now begin to set consequences to males that are out of balance with the cosmic mother. So it says, it has to do with the black cube in Mecca, shifting power of the cube to the return back to the cosmic mother. Women will start to rip off their hijab, the hijab. Okay, the Kaaba is built around a sacred black stone. It's a meteorite. Now, remind you, it is a meteorite in the sense that it is from another planet, but it was sent here as okay, I will say this. The stone was sent here. It may not be, listen, to our divine males, this message is not for you, because you've always been in balance. If you love your mother and you protect your sisters and you treat women well, and you aren't infected by the darkness, the darkening like the dark crystal, and you're not affecting it by the darkening, then you will basically be unwavered by this. But for the males that are imbalanced, that are infected by the darkening, they will be infected. And it's likened to that, if anyone has bugs in their house, the Roach Motel. Basically, the Roach Motel is a motel for roaches, right? I think it is, right? Or is it for ants? Is it called the Roach Motel? I'm using an analogy, family. Forgive me for the analogy I'm using, because I want you to understand. The Kaaba, I hate to put this as an analogy to that. The Kaaba is a Roach Motel for males to go into, but they don't come out if they aren't in balance. Basically, it's like a trap. So for those males who are worshiping it and who are lacking in balance, the Kaaba is like it's like an invitation to them, like a something to attract them. And if they aren't balanced, they aren't coming back out the other side. Okay, so For those males who, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to use that. I apologize for those. It's not, I hope I'm not being disrespectful. I just want to put an analogy you understood, that it is basically attracting males that are imbalanced, so that when they go to it, they are going to be reconditioned or taken out. Okay, so that in itself is that the Kaaba is twofold. It is to attract males. It is perfect. It is personally only to attract males. It is the womb. It's basically like worshiping the yoni. Let's just think of the dark Centaurian cube that is in the middle of Mecca in Saudi Arabia is being a rat trap. Thank you. I'm sorry. I shouldn't use roaches. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I apologize for anyone. I didn't mean to offend anyone. It's like a rat trap, and it is attracting males to it. It's only meant to attract males. And if the males are out of frequency or aren't balanced, they get caught up and they won't come back from it. So basically the frequency, the 9/11, the whole false 9/11 that was created, it was a warning to those about the Kaaba. It was a warning that one day that Kaaba would actually send out other frequencies in order to mute or to eliminate those imbalance. So that's why it kicks off with the Sisters of the Sand. Their awakening is initiated in the Middle East. By the today, 9/11 is the alarm, tomorrow is the sound off. So now you will literally see, if you think Flurburn is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, you will be able to witness what will be. It was a warning to the Dark Kabbalists that this day would be the day before the 11, which is the warning, the awakening, that tomorrow on the Hebrew calendar is 2012. 2012, actually, according to the Ethiopian calendar, is tomorrow. It was the sound off. That box will be a rat trap and a roach motel for those, or a zapper, Carlos said, like a bug zapper, for those who are out of alignment. That's why it was so important for us to talk about this today. Also, it was important for you to watch The Dark Crystal. Maybe that's the reason why Flurburn was obsessed with The Dark Crystal all these years. I've been telling you about The Dark Crystal. It's amazing that right before this occurs, that they make a remake of The Dark Crystal to remind you. I've been talking about it and people are like, oh, she's obsessed with Muppets. Because I'm a woman of a certain age. So over the last 5 years, you've heard me talk about The Dark Crystal over and over again, referencing it. And all of a sudden, right before Saturn hits direct, and we have a reinitiation into the divine motherhood, that the Dark Crystal comes back online. And if you watch the Dark Crystal, you realize that the Dark Crystal was taken over by Dark Lords. It was taken by the Skeksis. The Skeksis had it totally centered around their world, and they created a whole chaotic castle surrounding the Dark Crystal so they could use it for self. But then there would be one day the Dark Crystal did the opposite of what it was intended to do. This day, family, is today. So all those males who are dark, who aren't helpful and beautiful to their mothers, to their daughters, to their sisters, today is the mark of your end. Today is the initiation of us heading into the divine matriarchy that will come and be able to re-establish itself on this planet in unity consciousness. There isn't a necessity for women to dominate males. We've learned this lesson, or we should have. When we did so, when males were created after us, because we were here, and the majority of beings coming from outside in the cosmos are of a feminine quality. Most of them are either androgynous or feminine. Okay? So if you're starting to see a lot of androgyny also, it is because of this energy. You're starting to also see some of the males becoming more androgynous because they are now remembering their cosmic, physicality. A lot of them are remembering who they were. They come from the mother. So it would make sense that a lot of the males would come back into this form and feel more feminine because they're remembering the divine mother, they're remembering their connection to the divine mother, and they're actually wanting to merge back into that frequency. So we have to bring some of that. However this shows up, chemicalization, whether it's showing up because too much soy in the water, whether it's showing up because there's too much invocation of that type of frequency on television, it is still denoting that males are starting to feel the energies, and they too are becoming more taken over by the femininity within themselves, the remembrance of their cosmic relative, their genealogy, starting to remember their feminine wills that they came from, and they're starting to become more in sync with that. So if you're seeing more males, not gay males, but males who actually are taking on the feminine within themselves, that's actually in alignment with the frequencies of the Kaaba. The Kaaba is sending out that frequency. The cosmic mother never left, family. The cosmic mother left remnants of herself on this planet, on every ley line. So this goes to all of the mothers on the entirety of the planet. She left something, a gift for us, a remembrance, so that when she left her daughters with males who were supposed to protect her, who were supposed to build with her, she left the planet in thinking she could come back to a beautiful, healthy matriarchy. She left with a gift. So even if the males fell out of balance, that they would be met on this day of the return of the divine cosmonauts that are here now and are entering into our dimension. They're entering into different, actually there's some entering through stargates in our dimension, that there would be a balance that would help. It was almost like a default button in case ish falls all apart. In case things don't go as planned, there would be a default button, and that Kaaba, that's why they surround it with a cube, because they're fearful, because they already know it's already alluring them. The Kaaba itself is trying to block it, but that beautiful stone is too powerful for it to block it indefinitely. So that beautiful stone, my wonderful sea stars, is the cosmic mother's gift to us. And that is why you are starting to see what will be the kickoff of the initiation into the divine feminine conscious way of being begin in the Middle East. So it's interesting that we're starting to see that. Also, we'll also see some landings. As far as I know, there was intel that we will see the Lyrians. You're going to start to hear of people in Saudi Arabia see cat beings. The Lyrians are going now on site, to my knowledge, this is my intel. The Lyrians will actually be the ones who will guard the Kaaba from now on. The Kaaba will now be taken on by the actual previous beings. So now there will be basically the dark crystal, the beautiful dark womb, will now be in the hands of those who were originally here. So you will start to hear people in the Middle East having dreams about, I already got some of the sisters coming from Jordan, Kavar, who's from, big up to our sister from Kavar. Kavar is having dreams of cats and not cats as she's ever seen, like not even lions. She said it's a different type of, it's like it has spots. Kind of like what Aluna Ash placed on her, like a jaguar. She said she's already having dreams of a cat coming around, stalking, protecting her home. So the very beings that were the guardians are coming back to guard for the cosmic mother as she's coming back on deck. Okay, so remember the black stone is set into the eastern corner of Kaaba. Okay, so it affects the east first. So the stone is purposefully set in the east so that it is touching. That's why many people from that arena come from that direction. The ancient building located in the center of the Grand Mosque in Mecca. Okay, and you know that the stone is from outer space. Okay, so the stone was programmed for earthling males to travel as a program. Okay, so the stone was programmed for earthling males. It was programmed for earthling males to be affected, to travel near and as a form of entrapment in order to decimate. Okay, so this is my apology. This is just a message. Just This is, I'm just reading, I'm just the messenger as far as this is concerned, because even as I'm reading it, I didn't realize I had this message. The holy stone was from outer space. The stone was programmed for earthling males to travel near as a program by the originals, as a form of entrapment in order to decimate or radioactivate or be radioactive or create a radioactive atmosphere to euthanize the male species. That message wasn't mine. I'm just saying that. So it's interesting that this was a message from one of the cosmonauts, that this was actually going to be radioactive to euthanize the species of males. That's crazy. I don't necessarily agree with that. Wow. Ooh. Okay. Sorry about that. That now, sometimes you read a message and you get, sometimes I get messages and I just write them down and I didn't really take it in. I'm sorry. But again, you know, big up to Warrior. All my divine males are in here like that, Flora Broom. Read the messages before you listen. Just listen. This isn't for, and when I give these, you know, a lot of times, and I know our divine males know it isn't regarding them. A lot of times you get certain males who come in here and they feel fearful. Family, they should feel fearful, because if they are complicit with other males and doing abusive, egregious things to women under the guise of, you know, basically, you know, being apathetic, they have a consequence. It's basically like saying your friends are going to rob a bank, right? Your friends are going to rob a bank, and you are sitting in the car and you know what they're going to do, and they've already told you what they're going to do, but you're sitting in the car anyway, knowing that that car is going to be used as a getaway car. What is interesting about this is that you are guilty when you go to the court of law of basically being a party to the activity, because you didn't do anything to stop it. You didn't try to discourage the men from going in there and harming the people or stealing or robbing. You basically were guilty by association. Yes, Cora, but it's more than that, because you were complicit in it. You were complicit. So why I say all of our divine males is that we have some beautiful males sometimes who sit in complacency and apathy with males who are abusive, disregarding, and misogynistic. And there is a consequence to those who are in that position. Your hands are dirty. You have blood on your hands as well. So this message is for you as well. Listen, when I have girlfriends, if I have a whole bunch of girlfriends and they're dropping it like it's hot, and they're going out abusing their yoni space, and I'm going out with them drinking, even if I'm not sleeping with all these males, what does that say to my frequency? What does it say to me as a woman who's supposed to be upholding herself in a healthy, holistic way? What does it say to my frequency that I'm around and surrounding myself with women who are making poor choices, who aren't in self-love, who are degrading themselves and engaging in harmful behavior? It speaks to me as well. Yeah, women have blood on their hands. There are women who are complicit in that frequency. It isn't just males. It is females. Remember, a lot of the reason why listen, we have beautiful males on the planet, but there are women who are walking around assisting the diabolical agenda of males daily. I know some tragic women that are hurting some of our divine males right now, who are dishonoring, who are disrespectful, who are basically lying or materialistic and balanced. They too are the patriarchy. The patriarchy aren't just males. The patriarchy are females who are basically the henchmen of the patriarch. They deliver it. A lot of these children in the child trafficking industry are being lured by women. You know this, right? Most of the children that are being taken by women. It isn't men who are able to get to the children easily. It's basically women who are getting the children for them. Most of the prostitution rings are being ran by women. So we must know that the patriarchy that I speak of is in incorporation of both male and female. To be part of the diabolical patriarchy doesn't mean you're just a male. It means you're a female who's in the same frequency as the agenda. When you go around and you see women going around ruining other women's families, recruiters, thank you, Lenice. When you go around and you're seeing women abusing other women's families, knowing a man has a wife and children that he's living in, it is a woman who sometimes initiates the sexual liaison with the man, knowing that it could harm his family, that it could shift his attention away from his family. Those are women doing that. Those are women of the patriarchy. They dishonor other women. They lure other women. They entrap their sisters. So by all means, let me restate this. The patriarchy that I speak of, that will be paying for crimes against womanity, are those who are in alignment to do harm without thought, without empathy, without consideration. It's very sad. So this message is not just to the men who will pay for the crimes against the woman. It is for those women who have assisted and also birthed. You birthed men who abuse women. To birth a man who abuses women and to raise a child who is in disregard of the innocence of a child, there is a consequence for you using your womb as almost like a weapon of mass destruction, giving birth to children that are harmful to the planet. The time is now, family. This message is to basically sound off the horn. It is the horn that you're hearing. So hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, family. Oh, this is the, yeah, okay.
Shalom, my name is Or, which is the Hebrew word for light. If you already...
This is the horn. That's the horn. Shofar. Yes, Yafi. What's going on? Do know, Shafar, many of you know, big up to everyone in the house. Remember, this message is going to cause, this message is going to cause an invocation of our male sect. It will. It's a very scary time for many on the planet, especially those who are just, they're just aware that there's a shift. And it's going to cause a feeling of urgency. It's going to feel a lot of anxiety. There's a lot going on. So you shouldn't be shocked by anyone's anyone's feeling of, if you're feeling a certain way, if you're feeling of a little angst or anxiety with this message, and you don't have to take, listen, I always say to you, I share from a place of what I know. You don't have to take it personally. But if you feel that you, a certain way anxiety, it means that you'll be affected by it. Whenever we feel anxiety, when we hear something, we're about to get a preempt of something, it means that we'll be affected by it, or people we know personally will be affected by it. That's why this message is a lot of times, especially since I've been talking about the divine feminine coming online, women coming healthy. What happened? What happened? You know, it will cause, if you're feeling a certain way, it just causes for, you know, it's payment time. It's basically, a lot of people are going to pay for crimes against humanity, because many have been complicit in women being hurt. There's been a lot of times, I mean, many of you have sat in circles where you've heard men talk disregarding about their very wives, their daughters, their sisters, their mothers. A lot of times you sat there and heard men sit there. I've seen men who aren't cool with the behavior, but sat and listened to their homeboys talk dastardly about their wives, talk dastardly about, talking dastardly about things, talking all kinds of craziness, and people sitting idly and allowing them to do so and being okay with it. There has to be a time we have to stand up. Now, remember, there are many platforms where males talk all the time about what women do. You have Tommy Semior, who has a whole platform on talking about brown women's disharmony. You have a whole platform. You have platforms all over the internet talking about how women are whores, how women are disregarding themselves, how women wear weaves, how women don't like themselves, how women are fake, how women need to grow up, how women are the reason why the world is changing. We have tons and tons of platforms where women are talked about normally every day. We have places we have places here in many of you live in different countries where you hear men talk openly about a woman being a whore, or how he smashed her, or how he's having sex with multiple women and they don't know it, or how he just broke one heart, or he has 10 women loving himself. We have several platforms on here. But it's interesting when I speak about the empowerment of women and coming back into the divine state of being and waging war against those who are against the divine, healthy state of feminine consciousness, that it causes ripples. It tells you how the system has been. It tells you how complicit and how strong the patriarchy has been to allow for this to occur. And that's all it is. It's necessary for us as women to stand in our power, not to depreciate, not to the depreciation of anyone, but in your own empowerment. There isn't a, what happened? Uh-oh. Warrior, what happened? Did something happen in the chat? What happened in the chat? What are you angry about? What happened, Warrior? Did I say something to offend you? Did something happen? Warrior, I didn't see what happened. Warrior's been a part of the platform for a while. He should be fine. Did something happen? Uh-oh. You were angry? What happened to Warrior? Someone offended you? Oh, wait. Sensei says, every time we speak of patriarchy being demolished, some men get pissed off. They might not know how it's playing out. Oh, is Warrior mad? I'm sorry, Warrior. No, Warrior's fine. Women, what happened to the women? Okay, I'm not going to get into it because I didn't see what was said, so I'll look at the comments later. But just know, listen, family. Like I said, most of the time you hear about women online all the time being talked about. But it's interesting, whenever we speak of empowerment, it causes ripples. And it isn't, I'm unapologetic. Remember, because I remember someone asked me, said, you know, Fleur, you have a hatred of men. Are you a lesbian? Obviously, he didn't know. I love men. I love healthy men. I am mated with an amazing, healthy, copper, melanated man who's beautiful. Just it's necessary just for me to speak up and say I would like, and no, not that I would like, I command respect for our sisters and for balance on this planet. Doesn't mean I don't like men. I actually love men. I love them in ways that they already know. So it's interesting that my denotion of healthiness or commanding that we sit in balance with our males on this planet in a healthy way, respected and honored, as if we are in that alignment, that I would automatically be called a lesbian or I don't know, would they call me I don't know, or no, he didn't call me a lesbian. He said, do I sleep with women? First of all, why would that denote that? Because I speak well of women? Because I want healthiness? I have to be a lesbian to do that? Not all lesbians want that, so that's like an assumption that all lesbians are in that way. There's only certain people are in this alignment. Some are heterosexual, some are homosexual. Not all. Oh, I'm not mad at Fleur or anyone. Just giving my opinion. And females don't like hear females giving. Oh, okay, you're more than welcome. You can give your opinion. You can, yeah. Everyone has a right to give their opinion, and this is a beautiful time on the planet. And one thing I say is that this isn't going to harm us by hearing this message. This is only going to make us righteous. Because again, most of us are very healthy on this if you're here listening to Fleur Broom, chances are you just healthy. It's not that I'm super healthy, but we're pretty balanced. We have so many different backgrounds, so many different languages on this platform, so many different people coming from so many different worlds. This is a platform where I'm grateful, and I'm very grateful to have that beautiful adversity that shows the level of our awareness and awakening. So we have males on here, we have females, we have gay males, we have lesbian females, we have hybrids, we do have clones on here, we have biobots, I'm sure, we have everyone on here. So this is I'm a very open platform, and everyone's allowed to have their opinion. And I think opinions are necessary so we can see aspects of things that need to be addressed, okay? But it's necessary for many to understand that there is going to be a clearing that is occurring. And today was the horn that was set. Do I need to play the horn again? The horn is on the popping, family. Saturn's coming. I could be real. Saturn is coming home. Saturn is coming home. People are playing. Karma is being distributed as we speak. I'm basically staying home. Listen, I am staying out of harm's way. I'm making sure I'm being an aligned. Let me say, not good, aligned being. Should I play the horn again? Let me play the horn, because I think we need some clearing in here. Let me play the horn. I love that horn. Okay, I'm gonna play the horn. Welcome to 2012. I felt like, I feel like we're getting back up. Like I felt like we're being supported, like we're in the night together, like we're all together, like in the night, just waiting for dawn. Oh, that is such a beautiful, I feel so good. That was clearing, right? Did you feel clearing with that? It's so beautiful. Let me state to everyone in the room, for all those coming in the room, please put a like on a video. I know sometimes you think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Please put a like on a video. It's just a, you know, a beautiful testament that you're enjoying the conversation. Now, let me say for everyone in the room, I'm so grateful for your presence. I'm so grateful that you're even open to hearing this message. I'm so grateful for our awareness. I am grateful for us going through this journey and choosing to do it together, regardless of who we are, our different backgrounds, our different languages, the different ways that we look. I'm so grateful for each one of you. It is a lot of times that you don't realize that a lot of you come to Flow Room for advice, but many of you don't realize you do so much for my soul, for who I am. You've allowed me to grow in front of you, and many of you have been supportive, seeing me go through the ebbs and flow of life in a very physical way, and I'm so thankful. I speak to many of you. I'm so in awe of every one of you. I am so honoring that we are going through this shift together. This is a beautiful time on the planet. And this message isn't for fear. It isn't for darkness. It is basically for balance. I want all of us to live great lives on this planet. I want our children to be able to live freely and safely without thought that because she's a girl or because she's a woman that she would be more violated than our males. She should feel just as safe on this planet as any male does naturally. We need to know that because of the imbalances, it has caused us to hate each other. It has caused for us to be very sensitive or very isolatory. It isn't natural. This isn't how we were meant to be. If you were my neighbor, I could go to you and speak to you and you would honor me as I was from my tribe, not wanting to change me, not wanting to think I was lower, but understanding and overstanding who I was and what I represented. I respect each one of you from every background. There hasn't been a being on here who ever thought that I disliked them because of the way they looked, the tongue they spoke, or the belief system that they have. I know that unity consciousness is all colors of the rainbow. Remember, all spectrums of light are beautiful. I don't preference a blue top over a green top over a red top. I love the incorporation of all colors. I know that the only way that we will be successful as earthlings on this planet is if we reunite. We used to be a united front. Reunite. I look forward to us being in the future with our children, and I will have my nega hair, my silver hair proudly showing, as our children will be ushered into the cosmos with other light beings, with other beings from other nations who respect us as earthlings on one planet. In order for us to get there, we are going to have to become more balanced within each other. No being here on this platform is any less than another. We all have our own journey that we've had. Many of us have lost some of our parents. We've lost children, some of us. And some of us have even lost our minds living in this matrix. If the balances seems like loss, then let it be. Sometimes we have to take a loss in order to gain a win. And there will be a time where this isn't even a conversation. A conversation will be about what planet you're visiting, what Stargate you're going through, us using our telekinesis for learning and teaching our children. It's time. I represent the galactic family, and I represent the liaison between the different nations, the different sects of beings that are interacting with us here on this planet. I didn't take that. I don't know that I took that on a conscious level, but apparently I chose that on another level, on a higher level, and I'm grateful to be here. Know that this is going to be a beautiful but challenging time. Know that we need to support our sisters in the sand because they are kicking off the invocation of us into 2012. Our cosmic cosmonaut sisters are here. They are here in support. They are here to remind us of the very power and the very nature and the very divinity that's within each one of us. If we allow that frequency, and our beautiful male sect are okay with us being healthier, more self-aware, which makes their lives so much easier, then we'll have a very beautiful future. I'm in love with the concept of change and that I know that what it will bring. So I say today, family, make your choices wisely. Make sure that you do things in alignment with your highest and greatest self. Make sure you choose from the heart within the dynamics of having a healthy mind. Okay? Tomorrow is 2012. Saturn is coming back into our stratosphere, back into direct. Have compassion for those right now who are going through it. There are going to be many people who experience the level of karma necessary to hit them, to pick them up to another stratosphere. So it's okay if you see someone going through hardship. Know that it's only going to build them and make them so much stronger. Remember, a piece of coal shaped thousands of times turns into a beautiful shiny diamond. That's exactly what this is. In order for us to shine, sometimes we have to go through the darkness in order to even notice or even to have that illumination. We've already won. Exactly, D. We've already won. Now we're going to witness it. So I love you, family. I hope this message was okay. I was kind of all over the place. I try to stay focused. Be good to yourselves, be good to others, and be good to the earth. And just kick off 2012 in a positive way. All right? I see you on the other side. Peace. Blissful 9/11.